Welcome. My name is Annie Simpson, and I'm the secretary of the board of this congregation, the Unitarian Universalist Church in Reston. Whether you are on Zoom or here in the church sanctuary, we are glad you're with us this morning. No matter how old or how young you are, whether you are in a spiritual journey or wherever you are on your spiritual journey, however you identify and whomever you love, you should know that you are welcome here. We are also delighted to have again, as our guest pianist, Meagan Pitluck-Schmitt, a member of the church who seems to do a bit of everything for this community. Thank you for playing again today, Meagan. Our church service wouldn't be truly a UU service without announcements, and I have an abundance of announcements this morning. It's summer, so our UU connection doesn't come out very often, so you get a lot of announcements at church. First, all families with children in preschool through 12th grade and everyone interested in helping our programs for children and teens, you're all asked to attend lunch, a meeting, and training after the Sunday service on August 25th. Please RSVP at the link on the flyers in the foyer or in our newsletter, or you can contact Lyndon Weaver for more information. I'd also like to take a moment to remind you all that now's the time to turn off your phones or put them on Do Not Disturb. The Adult Enrichment Committee has come up with new course offerings: the Old Testament for the hell of it, transitions, and songwriting for non-musicians. For more information, please contact Julia Norrgard. Now is a great time to join the choir. You should contact Cynthia or stop by the next rehearsal, which is on Wednesday, the 14th of August at 7 p.m. For old timers, you might notice this is a change of night. It used to be on Thursdays. The music program is also looking for instrumentalists of any experience who are ready to jump in to have some fun and fellowship through music making. Again, contact Cynthia for that. Tomorrow, Juliet's will meet at True Food Kitchen in the Reston Town Center at 5:30 p.m. Juliet stands for Just Us Ladies Imbibing, Eating, and Talking. Please RSVP to Carol Shoemaker. This is needed so we can get the table of the right size. The Unitarian Universalist Association, as you might have seen on the slides, has recognized UU, the Unitarian Universalist Church in Reston, in other words, us, as an honor congregation for 2024. And they thank us for our unwavering support and continued generosity to the national organization. The Play Reading 2023 auction event is happening in 2024, and it will be held after the worship service on September 21st, 2024, from 12 to 2 p.m. in the sanctuary. I'm announcing this one because there are 16 parts to be read. Please, even if you did not bid and win this auction event, consider coming and joining part of the fun. Linda Holloway can give you more information. One final announcement. The UUCR Connection, which is our e-blast newsletter, is on its more infrequent summer schedule, and the next one will be sent on August 22nd. The deadline for including news in that newsletter, all of you can submit, it's fine, is August 20th. Please contact Harry Davis, who is our new office manager, if you have something to add. Thank you.
It's not scared everybody away. Our opening words are a poem that was written by a Sufi poet known as Rumi. He was a contemporary Sufi dervish to Haji Bektash Veli, who we'll be talking about. Its theme is universal, inviting us into community, accepting us for who we are, regardless of failures, emphasizing the power of love and acceptance. It reads, "Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, idolater, worshiper of fire. Come, even though you have broken your vows 1,000 times. Ours is not a caravan of despair." If the words sound familiar, this poem has been adapted to become one of our hymns. Cynthia selected "Come, Come, Whoever You Are" as our opening hymn today. She also kindly researched the Bektashi music for this service.
Good morning. As Lee just said, our opening hymn is number 188, "Come, Come, Whoever You Are." So we are going to sing it in unison, and then we'll break into a two-part round. So maybe it would be better to sing this one sitting down so that you can see. All right, so we'll do it once in unison and then twice in a round, and I'll lead this side first, and then you all come in second. Looks like there's less of you over here, so we'll have to be brave. Sing out. Just do the intro. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Part one. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair.
Good morning. Our chalice lighting this morning comes from Hafiz. He was a Persian Sufi mystic, and he lived about 1320 to 1389. and his work influenced Goethe, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Arthur Conan Doyle, and even, supposedly, Queen Victoria. Such was his wisdom. These candles, our bodies. These candles, our bodies. See how they burn. How many hours will they last? Days, months, years? Look at the warmth and comfort we can give to each other, or to anything that comes close. One of the components of lasting art is a spirit flame within the created. Let us light our chalice so that it can ignite inspiration, hope, and survive time's ways.
Here at UUCR, we have a beloved tradition of singing our covenant together every Sunday. Love is the spirit of this church. We will remain seated while we sing our covenant together. And if you are here this morning for the first time, we hope you will accept this song as our blessing to you.
Now is the time for all ages. And we have some video that's going to be projected here. If you'd like to come forward, we have some seats in front and room on the floor. Oh, welcome. Have you seen any of the Olympics? Anyone? Yeah. During the Olympics, we watch athletes from around the world, and we can get to know them and their countries just a little bit better as they come together in sport and friendship. This reminds us that we are all alike in some very important ways. We want to be accepted and loved, to succeed and be happy. We care about our friends and families, and most of us believe in treating others the way we want to be treated, right? However, as humans, we often put ourselves and others into boxes with labels like countries and religions. Some of the labels for religious beliefs are Jewish, Christian, Muslim or Islam, Hindu or Buddhist. And we may think that we know what people believe or how they will act based on those labels. However, there may be more difference within each of the boxes than between them. So it might look more like this: overlapping or intersecting ovals or blobs, any shapes. And the Norrgards will be providing an example of this as they talk about Sufism today, a mystic branch of Islam. We call followers of Islam Muslims, and among the adults here, we may have images that come to mind when we hear the word Muslim. We may think of women covering their heads or even faces, of men and women worshiping separately, and we may even think of countries where girls have a difficult time getting education, or that even ban music altogether. However, if you know people who are Muslim, you probably know that the ways they believe and act vary greatly, right? Sufism is different from other Muslim sects because it emphasizes a direct experience of God or the holy. And it incorporated other aspects of religions and cultures. In Sufism, music and dance are very important spiritual practices that help people connect with God or the divine. And we're going to see a couple of examples of dance as prayer. The first are whirling dervishes, and it's a group of men who perform for tourists in Turkey. And the second is a group of Sufis similar to Bektashi at least. And they're at a place of worship. And we'll watch those videos now.
Aşkın dolusunu içenler sizin dolunuzdan kanmaya geldi. Secde edip divan durdum zeminde, kırkların narında yanmaya geldi. Haydar haydar haydar yanmaya geldi. Ozan İsmail'im insan yücedir, insana zulmünüz yetti nicedir. Düzene karşı olan halkın gücüdür, özgürlüğe bir gül sunmaya geldi. Özgürlüğe bir gül sunmaya geldi.
So why is understanding these similarities and differences important? In our interconnected and diverse world, it's important for us to live together well, to understand each other. So we learn about different religions, and we also learn differences. It's helpful, and it's also important to get to know many, many different people. Also, as Unitarian Universalists, we bring in different inspirations from many sources, including religions. And we also welcome people from different faiths. Some of us came from Unitarian Universalism and some from outside. I wonder how many here grew up in Unitarian Universalism. Raise your hand if so. Look around. And the rest of us with our hands down, we came from other faiths or no religion at all. We may have grown up Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, atheist, or more. And we may not want to leave all of that religion behind. So, I hope we'll keep all of this in mind and live the spirit of the Olympics and Unitarian Universalism here and in the world, remembering that we each have different beliefs, experiences, and ways of worshiping, and trying to see and recognize the individuals beyond the labels and boxes. We'll explore this further in religious education today, and if you are in 12th grade or younger, you may choose to stay here and hear more about Sufism, or join us for religious education and explore through games. And if so, we'll sing you out with Go With Joy.
Our joys and concerns, so that no one is ever to hold them alone. If you are joining remotely this morning, you may wish to light a real or virtual candle wherever you are this morning to mark what is on your heart, as members of the in-person congregation here at UUCR place stones in the water here in the sanctuary.
If those of you at home would like to share what is on your heart today in the congregational chat on the screen, please write to all attendees. And please remember that this is public for everyone to see, so be careful. And share in the chat and enjoy your time of reflection and prayer as we listen to more traditional Bektashi music, if you can stand it. Start coming forward if you like, if we get some music. facing illness or disability in themselves or in friends and family. In particular this morning, we hold in our hearts and prayers those who lost their homes and some who lost their lives in the Hurricane Debbie. And also we think of the people in Gaza who are the children who were killed in that school that was bombed.
The second Sunday of each month is dedicated to an offering that is completely dedicated to an organization chosen by the Social Justice and Action Committee. All of today's offering, except for the pledge payments, which should be clearly marked, all of the offerings will go to opportunities, alternatives, and resources, or OAR. OR is a local nonprofit restorative justice organization providing human services since 1971. Their services aim to rebuild lives and create a safer community with opportunities, alternatives, and resources for those who have been involved in the criminal justice system. With empathy, integrity, accountability, passion, and a belief that people can change and should have a second chance, OR has provided the opportunities, alternatives, and resources needed for more than 150,000 justice-involved community members to achieve success. You may make your donations at the link in the chat or in your order of service, entering your donation into the Charity of the Month donation box in the online form. You can also write a check to UUCR with RAM, that's not right, or OAR in the memo, or special collection in the memo. And you can put it in the offertory box or mail it to the church. And of course, you may put cash in the offering basket as well. And we thank you for your generous contributions and support of this important community resource.
Sorry about that.
Some time ago, I searched the web looking for UU churches abroad in cities that Julie and I were planning to visit. I came upon an organization called the International Association for Religious Freedom, which was created by the Unitarian Association in 1900 and still exists to advocate for religious freedom and respect for different religious traditions. There are many different Unitarian churches listed in various parts of the world. UUA is part of it as well, and there are other religious bodies that are part of it. Recently, I looked at that list again, and to my surprise, the first name on the list is the Bektashi Order of Macedonia, which is actually headquartered in Albania. This caught my eye because living in Kosovo for many years, we knew many Bektashi. Some were students of Julia. We also visited their houses of worship called techis, even the techi in Macedonia, and we met their babas, or religious leaders.
We became curious about this Islamic minority. We knew a little bit about the regular Muslim, but we didn't know much about this Bektashi group. My students, students everywhere are kind of the same, but I would ask those who were Bektashi, what's it about? And they would say, well, I don't know, that's what my parents do. Does that sound familiar to you? And that's what my parents do. Do we have picture one? Isn't he handsome? It wasn't until we were traveling in Turkey, specifically in Anatolia, that we decided to visit this city called Haji Bektash. We visited the compound where Haji Bektash taught and lived. Let me explain the name. Haji, as you probably know, just means the title for somebody who has made the Hajj to Mecca. And so Bektashi had. Bektash translates as prince, and that's the name his dad gave him. And Veli means saint. So the Haji Bektashi Veli is the total title. Inside this compound where we were visiting, we saw many things that were quite interesting to us, but there were two things that really stood out and caught our eye. The first was a list of sayings. I mean, it's like if you go into most churches, you'll find the 10 Commandments on the wall. In this, there was this list of sayings. This really, we looked at each other and we said, Lee and I looked at each other and said, this could be in any Unitarian church in the country, any country. So look at the first one. It says, search and find. Well, we're always talking about the disciplined search for truth. Look down for whatever you look for, search in you. Don't forget, even your enemy is human. I like this one. The road that doesn't go through science is perilous. Think of that. We don't think of that in the Muslim world, or I don't. Respect the ones who put light in the darkness of thought, and don't do anything to anyone if you don't want it done to you. That's the old standard saying. Second, there was a picture on the wall of a sema that was in place, just like Linda showed us, of people dancing. The sema is not just for tourists. That is an actual religious practice taking place. But in the picture I saw there were women who were dancing with the men. And I thought, I don't expect that.
Next two slides. This is inside the center. This is where worship was held by the Bektashi. Next slide. And this is where he was buried. They're called turbes in Haji Bektash. So began, after we came back, our study, if you can call it that, buying books and online research. Having lived and worked in Muslim majority countries, Kosovo and Syria, we did know something about Islam. While the Bektashi consider their faith to be part of Islam, mainline Sunnis and Shia consider them to be heretical and have persecuted them, as have Orthodox Christians. And the differences in their beliefs are stark. We will try and enumerate them in a minute, but first, a little background. The Bektashi are a Muslim Sufi Dervish, which along with the better-known Mevlani Sufi order based on the teachings of Rumi, arose in 13th century Turkey, Anatolia. Sufis are the philosophical, mystical Islam as opposed to the rules-based practices of Sunnis and Shia. Dervishes seek to find the truth of divine love and light through experience, as Linda talked about earlier in showing the slides and videos.
Okay, oh yeah, beautiful picture Lee took. Rumi and Haji Bektash Veli, the patron saints of Sufi orders, were contemporaries, but we have no evidence that they ever met each other. Rumi's followers created the Shema, as we saw. Whirling dervishes seek liberation of the body in a meditative trance. So as they are twirling, they are actually going into a meditative trance, which is part of their religious experience. Both had influence by Christians and other ideas that were circulating in the Middle East at that time. Muslims and Christians merged and learned from each other, often revering each other's saints and shared houses of worship. Both Rumi and Haji Bektash were affected by the Mongol invasions of Persia and fled to a friendlier area under the Seljuk Turks in Anatolia. That's pretty common practice, people leaving one place to be free from invasions and getting killed. It's not a good thing. Rumi's broad Sufi vision and Haji Bektash Veli's inclusive folkway created inclusive cultural spaces, and each effectively incorporated old traditions with new to render viable, comparable religious identities.
Can you go to the last slide? This is the turbe for Rumi found in Konya. What are Bektashi beliefs and practices? Bektashi beliefs are eclectic, absorbing Christian and pagan and other ideas. The basic concepts include good character, compassion, gentle spirit, brotherhood, peace, love, and tolerance for different religious practices. The United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, declared 2021 to be the year of Haji Bektashi Veli and wrote, "The base of his philosophy lies on humanity, human rights, and social equality, that he counsels for the man to be modest, to purify his soul, to mature, to abstain from showing off, and be full of the love of God. His principles led to cultural harmony and enlightenment in Anatolia."
The Bektashi code of ethics, what's attributed to him, is universalist and vigorous. He's presented to have disregarded Islamic dietary restrictions, made use of wine, not only just drinking it, but in their services. And we know that Rumi loved his wine too. Ignored the 5 daily prayers, considered facing Mecca a superstition, relied on and honored women, and dismissed the Hajj, even though he went on the Hajj, or pilgrimage to Mecca. Specific distinctions from standard Islam. And I think we all have some ideas about Islam, but there are distinctions here. They have only 2 daily prayers, one at sunrise and one at sunset. And they don't prostrate themselves in some facility or mosque. They do not build mosques or pray in mosques. Instead, they build meeting houses that they call teches, and that have no minarets. Now, Lee and I visited the Bektashi Teche in Jakovo. We were very lucky to be in there. And it's a room. It would be just like this room. And people can put up seats wherever they want to. It's very low key and not what you expect. Bektashis use alcohol, even in some of their services. There is no ritual ablutions. If any of you have traveled to where there are mosques, you know that outside there's always a water source where people can wash their hands and sometimes their feet and whatever they want to wash. They don't do that. They also don't observe Ramadan. The tradition of tolerance for all religions and respect for their religious books, very important to them. Women are not veiled. They are equal to men and participate in services.
A plaque at Haji Bektash's Veli Center reads, "In the language of conversation, you cannot discriminate between men and women. Everything God has created is in order. To us, there is no difference between man and woman. If you think there is, you are mistaken."
You are mistaken. Okay, here's a little history lesson. A famous example of Bektashi's broad tolerance is what we call the Janissaries. I don't know if you've read about the Janissaries. Janissary means new soldiers. And they rose to considerable power in the late 15th century due to their connection with the Bektashi. The Janissaries were the elite military infantry of the Ottoman Sultan. And its members were recruited, or actually seized, by the Sultan through the commission called the Devshirme, which meant that a group of people went into mostly the Balkans and around there and selected out young boys from the villages, people who looked healthy and strong and looked like they might have a brain in their head. They brought them back to Istanbul, taught them to speak Turkish, converted them to Islam, and then they took military and/or training for being in the hierarchy of the government. There were some who went as far as being the vizier, the next in line to the sultan. The Janissaries chose the Bektashi sect as their version of Islam. And why? Because of the liberal principles. Soldiers like to drink. And so if you were a Bektashi, you could find a way to drink. They could avoid 5 daily prayers and could continue, if they chose, to follow their prior religious beliefs. Bektashi Babas, which is what they call their ministers, served as chaplains to the elite troops and traveled with them on their battles and conquests.
It seems strange that an elite military organization whose role is not peaceful endeavor should adopt a religious code that preaches peace, compassion, and love for humanity. But similar examples can also be found with Christian armies. So the contradiction is strange, but not uncommon. It was the Ottomans and the Janissaries that brought Bektashis to the Balkans, where most of their believers are currently found, although there are Techis in Turkey, the Middle East, the Caucasus, and even outside of Detroit, Michigan. If you search YouTube, you can also find a webinar entitled A Sufi Perspective of Freemasonry, the Bektashi Order of Dervishes. So even the Freemasons have found Bektashiism. By one estimate, Bektashis currently number 7 million, which is less than 3% of the 1.7 billion Muslims worldwide. It's a small, liberal faith in a sea of conservative Islam. But it's a shame that Muslims are only known as Sunni and Shia, when religious freedom can also be found in other branches of Islam, like the Bektashi.
Afterwards, you can ask us questions. We may even know the answers.
Thank you, Julia and Lee. Our closing hymn is number 180. It is another round, and there's only one word, Alhamdulillah, which is basically the Muslim version of Alleluia, meaning praise be. So let's try it standing up, shall we? And we'll do it once together. Let's do it twice together. Twice together, and then we'll do a round. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Let's do that again. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Group 1. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
benediction is from the words of Theodore Parker. Be ours a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple, all space. Its shrine, the good heart. Its creed, all truth. Its ritual, works of love. Its profession of faith, divine living.
We now extinguish this flame. But not the light of hope and truth, the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we carry forth in our hearts until we are together again.
Our closing hymn is number 318, We Would Be One. Now please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing. We would be one.